The year was 1874, and the air in the desert carried more than dust. It carried secrets, pain, and sometimes, hope. I remember the first time I saw him. My body was broken, my spirit trembling, and yet, there he was, a tall figure silhouetted against the burning orange sky, reins in one hand, a rifle slung across his shoulder, eyes sharp but filled with something I hadn't seen in a long time, mercy. The men who had left me beaten in the canyon thought no one would come. They thought an Apache girl like me didn't deserve saving. My wrists were raw from the rope, my face bruised, and every breath felt heavier than the last. But then, the sound of his boots crunching against gravel reached me before his shadow did. He crouched low, his calloused hand brushing my shoulder, his voice low and steady. "Don't be afraid. You're safe now." Safe. It was a word I hadn't trusted in years. And yet, something in the way he said it made me want to believe. His name was Thomas, a rancher who'd seen his fair share of sorrow. He lived on the far edge of town, where the grass grew thin, and the soil demanded sweat and blood before it gave anything back. People called him poor, said his land wasn't worth much, but when he lifted me into his arms that night, I knew I had been carried by a man richer than most. The days that followed blurred between pain and healing. His cabin smelled of smoke and cedar, and though it was small, it felt larger than the open plains because it carried kindness within its walls. He tended my wounds with hands that trembled, not because he was unsure, but because he cared too deeply. Each time he wrapped a bandage or held a cup of water to my lips, I could see a question in his eyes he didn't dare ask. One evening, as the prairie wind howled against the shutters, I found my voice. "Why did you save me? You could have left me there. No one would have blamed you." He didn't answer right away. He just stared into the fire, the flames dancing across the sharp lines of his face. Finally, he whispered, "Because no one deserves to be left behind." In that moment, I saw his pain buried deep, hidden under layers of dust and silence. He had lost someone once, someone he couldn't save. And saving me, perhaps it was his way of mending what could never be undone. But the town didn't see it that way. To them, I was trouble. An Apache girl under a rancher's roof was scandal, a stain on their pride. They whispered behind his back, spat cruel words when I passed, and warned him that he'd lose everything if he kept me close. I begged him once to let me go, to spare himself the ridicule. His answer came not in words but in the way he gripped my hand, firm and unshakable. "Let them talk," he said. "I know who you are. That's enough for me." Weeks turned into months, and with every sunrise, the world grew less cruel. My body healed, but more than that, my heart began to trust again. Thomas taught me to ride his horses, to mend fences, to laugh at the small things like how his old hound snored louder than a thunderstorm. One evening, under the vast prairie sky painted in violet and gold, I turned to him with trembling lips. The words I carried weighed heavy, but they needed to be spoken. "Thomas," I whispered, "will you teach me how to stay, not just survive, not just hide, but stay here, with you?" His eyes softened, and for the first time since I'd known him, a smile broke across his weathered face. He pulled me close, the smell of earth and leather wrapping around me, and said, "I thought you'd never ask." From that night on, we faced the world not as rancher and rescued girl, not as outcast and savior, but as two souls bound by something greater than blood or prejudice, love forged in the dust of hardship and the fire of second chances. The town never did stop talking, but their whispers no longer mattered. What mattered was the steady beat of his heart against mine, the promise of tomorrow, and the truth I carried deep inside me. Sometimes, salvation doesn't come from the strongest or the wealthiest. Sometimes, it comes from a poor rancher with rough hands and a broken past, who chooses to save a girl no one else would.